I first heard about Transition Salt Springs' work on the Maxwell Creek Watershed quite serendipitously. I was driving back from Nanaimo to the Comox Valley where I live, and I tuned into the radio, which is the serendipitous part, because I very rarely listen to the radio. And I immediately heard Ruth beginning to talk about the work that they're doing at the Maxwell Creek Watershed. She spoke about forests.
What we're asking is how can we mitigate some of the harms that have been accumulating over the last 120 years to stabilize the ecosystems and restore some of the fire resistance that was natural prior to all the clear cutting and changes that happened in the last century or so.
Adventures at Quebec or the Maxwell Creek Watershed. So thank you everybody for coming. Very excited yesterday.
The leadership and the momentum for change has to come from more grassroots practitioner level. And so that really is why I stepped away from the work that I'd been doing and put myself in an environment where the community had a lot of resources and knowledge that could be put together to tackle some of the really critical problems that we're facing with extreme weather and the increasing rate that we're realizing for climate change. Create the structure larger so that it can actually maintain and generate enough moisture and heat, kind of like a compost pile.
Absolutely. That whole watershed's been logged at least twice, and then replanted with species that are been planted too close together, and single species have also been planted back there. So the trees are way too close together. They can't mature because of that. There's not enough light. So the Transition Salt Spring group are experimenting up there right now, doing tree thinning, basically trying to restore an old growth forest. And an old growth forest has a lot more resistance to fire. It's a lot healthier. With the wetlands, it would help retain water up there, and it would release water more slowly into Maxwell Lake, which is a benefit for us because that means we have more water into the summer.
This particular project is really important to this community and also is an example to our region in the Salish Sea, because we're dealing with a watershed that's been left to recover from something that's irrecoverable, which is 120 years of the absence of Indigenous stewardship, and on top of that, clear-cut logging, which has been repeated, drainage of wetlands, and all of which has been left behind, creating a watershed that is at very high risk of fire. So basically, it's now become a fire system. And so that puts our water supply for about almost half of our population at risk from a fire. And it also is affecting the integrity of the whole system.
So a major fire up there is a huge problem, and what Transition Salt Spring is doing is trying to restore that watershed to its original condition, and by doing so it would minimize any chance of having a major fire. That would result in an immediate interruption to the water source for Ganges.
And it's natural for trees to fall and self-thin, but what's not natural is that the extent of an area that is going through this at exactly the same time is as large as it is. So it's basically almost the entire island.
The community involvement is really important because a lot of what we need to do is known by different members of the community, and there is a lot of enthusiasm for people to actually take action rather than waiting for someone else to take care of this problem we're dealing with.
And the green foliage is really important because that's what's going to keep all of the wood chips suspended like this and not falling through the gaps.
First of all, it's really important to involve community members in restoration projects. Anyone in this field will tell you that community members have to take it on for the longevity of the project so that it can continue in perpetuity and so that there's community care behind it.
TSS is involving the community in our project on the Maxwell Creek Watershed. We have a series of community presentations that we're giving to various groups who invite us, helping them understand how they can contribute to the health of our watersheds and fire resiliency by protecting their own forests on their own land.
We had high school students from Salt Spring Island, and I also invited in a number of people from the University of Victoria, including the Restoration of Natural Systems program, as well as others, and also Camosun College. And so they helped with the construction of these nurse logs, with some of the labor involved, and we're excited to get them involved in future.
So we're going to introduce some native seeds and plants in an area that has been fenced and an area that hasn't been fenced, and we're going to see if there's any difference in how they come up.
What they're learning in our watershed is going to be transferable to any of the Gulf Islands or any of the communities up the coast. It's adaptation to climate change. It's restoration to the natural old growth forest.
I think that this project has a lot of potential to provide a template for both ecological treatments and also for just fuel treatments in general, and can provide habitat, moisture retention, soil enrichment. So I'm very excited to start seeing the results